Hey, welcome everybody. Chris DeCenzo here. Going to talk about how to make more money selling Shadow Systems firearms. I'm going to jump into the agenda in a minute, but give you a little administrative things here. We are recording this, so when it's all said and done, if you've got people at your store that you want to share this with and/or you want to see it 3 or 4 more times, we'll have it on recording on demand on our website. There is a window that you should be seeing that allow you to put questions in, and things says questions on it. So throughout the presentation, if you have some questions, please type it in. We'll get through them during the presentation if we can. If not, we'll get them at the end. We got a section at the end just dealing with questions. We will send out the presentation when we're done also, so you can have that. And the other thing is that if that window is blocking your view, there should be a red, or I guess a yellow arrow in the top left-hand corner aiming to the right. If you just press that, that'll minimize that window and you can see the whole thing. So with that, I'm going to tell you about what we're trying to do today. Really want to talk to you about Shadow Systems and why you should carry it, but also give you insights on how would you sell it? How would you sell more? Or if you're not selling it at all, bring it into your store. And to do that, I've got some guests with me. First, you can see me on the left, although you've got our video, so you can probably see us anyways. I'm Chris DeCenzo, the president of KM4. I will tell you, I am a Shadow Systems user. I have one of the guns. I love it. But let me introduce Trevor and Chad from Shadow Systems. Guys, welcome.
Thank you so much, Chris. I'm Trevor Rowe. I'm the CEO.
I'm Chad Jewett. I'm the Vice President of Sales.
You guys are going to tell us everything we need to know about how to be successful selling Shadow Systems, correct?
Yep, absolutely. Right. How to make money selling our product.
How to make money selling your product. And again, I'm going to encourage, again, questions from the audience. In fact, just to give you a little insight, we had over 100 people registered for this event, 29 states, California to Maine. We have everybody from an owner to the CEO to the store manager, sales managers, employees, and then some guy that refers himself to as the dude. Okay, so whoever like that is, that guy. They're all here. So it's a good broad audience. And today we're going to talk about this. So the agenda is going to be a little background on Shadow Systems. We'll talk about the features, and the pricing of the Shadow Systems firearms. Deep dive, into the why. What's so special about this product and this brand? What are some of the points of resistance you might have as you're trying to sell it? We've got a dealer, one of our dealers and one of our reps that we're going to bring on a little later that could talk about actually selling it in the store. And then, who's interested? Who's going to buy this? How are they marketing it? And then the question answers at the end. And also, we got a little special promo going on that we'll share with you also when we get there. So with that, I'm going to turn it right over. Trevor and Chad, all yours.
Great. Well, first, thanks so much, Chris, for hosting us today. We really appreciate the opportunity to kind of get out there and explain who we are. Shadow Systems is a relatively new brand, and a lot of times the challenge is just to kind of help people understand who we are and why we exist and what we're doing. And so that's a lot of what we're going to do today. So thank you for joining us, especially for those of you who are not familiar with our brand, because that's probably maybe the most important audience to reach for us. The first bullet on this slide says we are shooters first, and I think that's one of the things that ironically maybe differentiates us a little bit from our competition. Everybody in this company really started out as an end user, whether that was somebody who was a competitive shooter or a law enforcement guy or a military guy. I mean, that's kind of the core DNA of our company. We actually have very, very few gun industry people. Less than 10% of the people who work here were in the gun industry in any capacity before coming here. So it just means we look at problems a little bit differently, and I think that comes through in how we design our guns. We are based in Plano, Texas. 2016 was our founding. Our first year or so was spent doing parts, and then in 2019 we decided we wanted to go take on the world, take on the big incumbent brands that we all know and love. And that was when we released our first production gun. So you're going to learn more about those production guns here in a moment. Our focus from a design perspective is really about shootability. We want to get fast hits on a target at close range under stress with a high reliability gun. And so that's what we do. A lot of times people will look at our guns and think they're more, you know, safe queens or showpieces or competitive guns, but really they're high reliability combat use designs, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. We are a 100% American company, from our materials to our labor to our manufacturing. It's all here. We have a strong customer focus, meaning if there's issues, we don't shy away from those. We embrace those. We learn from them. We don't attach our ego to what we do. And if somebody needs our help, we give them our help. And I think the last part is, and this is a little bit of that price to value question, people do recognize the value, what they're getting for the money. The price point might be a little higher, as you'll see, but what you actually receive is pretty unique. And so that's a big part of the sell. So we'll go to that. Okay. Next slide, Chris. Okay, so this slide is a look at the features, and we really thought we would start here because the Shadow Systems sell is a little bit of a technical sell. For those of you who are kind of enthusiasts who are in the market for custom guns and have experience with aftermarket parts for Glocks or M&Ps or whatever, a lot of these features will seem kind of second nature. But if, you know, portions of your sales staff are more kind of traditional, they get excited about a Woodstock 270 or something, which I get that too. This might be less familiar to them. So a lot of times the people that are coming in to buy one of our products are more in that enthusiast vein, and so speaking their language is kind of helpful. So this is a look at the kind of the features that are included in the gun that you normally would associate with a custom gun, but are included right out of the box. On the left side, of course, we have a green outline tritium front sight. We use a bright green tritium front with a green outline, and we use a blacked out rear. Philosophically, we think the front sight is what really matters, and so our tritium lamp is a little bit bigger, and the green O-ring works great by day. So it just means front sight focus is where your eye goes, and that's what that's about. We have various versions of the slide, which you'll learn about. The Elite slide is pictured here. The Elite slide has top serrations and a window cut, but all of our serrations have, or all of our slides rather, have front and rear serrations that are recessed into the slide, and they are beveled. They're directional on the back. So when the gun is coming out of the holster, there's literally no drag from the serrations. They're smooth going the opposite direction, but they're sharp and crisp when you need to rack the gun. We do have a patent on our optic cut. It's a pretty unique system, which I'll talk about in a moment, but basically it enables kind of all the major hard use optics, the Holosun 508s and 507s, the Trigicons, you know, some of the other more popular ones, to be direct mounted to the slide without a plate that raises it up. And we also have the longest, strongest screws in the industry. So you'll see that in a moment. The frame features are what really help control recoil. We use a beaver tail that's big but not huge. Still, you know, keeps the gun compact so it doesn't print a lot. Our back straps are angle adjusting, so it actually changes the way the gun aims, not the size of the grip. And I have some stuff about that too. You'll notice the ultra high undercut in the center on the left picture. Our trigger guard is very thin at that location, which allows you to get your hand super high on the gun for more recoil control. And we also have the recoil control ledge, a place to put your thumb to help you control recoil. There's some other stuff off to the right there. I won't go through all of it, but we do use a match grade barrel, and we do have an aluminum flat face trigger. That trigger would normally be, as an aftermarket component, like a $150 trigger, but that's just part of the gun. We also include a magazine well that is removable, which is just part of the package. So there you go.
Trevor, so I mean, you've got a lot on here, and I will say, you know, probably like most gun guys, I was playing in my safe this weekend, and I pulled this gun out, and I was really impressed with that front dot sight. You know, the front sight just jumps right out at you, and I was like, wow. But what do you think of the top 3 or 4, you know, key features that really differentiate Shadow Systems, these guns?
Yeah, the heart of our value proposition is the frame features. When you're going to sell the gun, it's helpful a lot of times to talk about the grip angle adjusting back straps. That's pretty unique, And a lot of times somebody that's looking at a gun like this will say something like, oh, well, I don't like a Glock because it's got, points really high for me, or, I shoot an M&P and when I pick up a 1911, it points low, or whatever. The point here is you can change the backstrap and adjust the elevation orientation of the muzzle. You can make it point like a Glock, you can make it point like a SIG, you can make it point like a 1911. And that's a really important feature that will resonate with your customers. The texture is a big one too. We wrap the texture all the way around the grip. Most of the panels, the textured panels you see on production frames are kind of like a stick-on patch. This is a wonderful kind of custom feeling wraparound texture that really helps people control recoil. And then you would point to the slide machining and the optic cut. The slide machining is very aggressive. It looks beautiful, but it also has features that set it apart. The directional serrations, the weight optimizing window cut on an elite slide, and the optic cut. Over 70% of the guns out there now have optics on them for law enforcement. That's a big part of what we're seeing in that space. So emphasizing the optic cut is something that will appeal to most guys that are looking at our products.
It's actually why I bought it. When I saw the optic cut and I hadn't got into the red dots, I said, you know what, this is perfect. And I'm not being really a big Glock fan because of the grip angle. This was just great. So
right.
Let me do this. I want to ask a poll to the audience because I'm curious, how many listening here are actually actively selling shadow systems. So what you should see right now, and I'm going to ask everybody to participate in this, is, how well do the shadow systems firearms perform for you? Are they doing very, very strong? And again, I'll ask you to just start clicking on one of the answers. So everything from it's strong seller, medium seller, low seller, or, you haven't added the line yet. So if people would start clicking on that, I can get a sense, and we can all get a sense of how many of you are selling it and how many aren't. We can maybe adjust the the presentation at least a little to that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we got about half voting already. So we can take probably another 30 seconds on this, and then I'll close it, and then I can show both Chad and Trevor, and actually the whole audience, what the results are, and you can see where we're at. So, so let's do another 10 seconds here. It'll close it. Yeah, because almost everybody voting, which is kind of good.
Chad, would you say Shadow Systems has been the strongest seller for you, Chad?
Yeah, I voted a strong seller there for me personally.
That would explain the 1% answer that I'm seeing so far. All right, I'm just kidding. All right, I'm going to close it now. We got everybody voting. So let me close it, and I'm going to show it to you, and to do a share. And can you see that now?
Yep.
You guys see that?
Yes, we can.
Right. So I've got a very small picture, but it looks like 20% strong, 14 medium, 38 low, and 28 haven't used it. So it's not evenly mixed, but pretty much. Any reaction to you on that?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like on the 38% is more certainly than we would hope to see. But I will say this: we have done some interesting turnarounds where we've gone into shops that were struggling to sell, and then it quickly became a bestseller. And it really came down to some of this training that we're doing right now. So I'm hopeful that we can turn that around pretty quick.
That's the whole point of today, is to help our dealers, sell more of the shadow systems. All right.
Sure.
So let's get back to the regularly scheduled show. Go on to the next slide here.
I'll add one thing there real quick, just into that, so you can be thinking about this as we're going on, and we'll talk more about it later. But we have a whole new team of people whose sole focus is dealer support, coming in to help educate and train the counter staff and everybody at your store. We can do it virtually, we can do it in person. They're regionally based, so just reach out to your Cam 4 sales rep. They can get a hold of us and we can schedule it, and we love it. And Trevor mentioned it, we're seeing massive success with this, and we're excited. So our team is available to you whenever. So
well, and as you bring that up, Chad, someone's asking about that nice poster behind you. They're saying, where can we get some of those? So put that on your list.
yeah, so I'm actually selling this one, and we'll
yeah.
Okay.
We can do that. We can do that. Yeah, Chad's right. We're going to talk a little bit more about the dealer support reps because it is a little bit unique, and it's pretty powerful. We have some interesting testimonials about it. So
Okay, back to you,
Cool.
Trevor.
cool. Okay.
We got the value proposition showing now.
Yeah, I'm still seeing the poll, but it takes a second, I think.
Oh no, that might be me because no, it should be back. Okay, let me try this one more time.
Chad, are you seeing the poll still?
I'm not.
Are you seeing the poll? Or are you seeing the value proposition
I
slide?
see the poll still. Yeah.
All right. Okay, that's not good because I'm seeing the value proposition slide. So let's see. It shows that it's closed. I wonder why that's not happening. Okay. Go figure. When I answer a question, then we have an issue. Show on screen. Sorry about this, people.
No.
Because the poll is, I'm showing that it's closed. And that's why I'm having this trouble. Okay. Apologize for this audience. So let's do this. Well, I'm going to try to get this picture back. I'm going to ask Trevor to use his visual hand skills to explain this next slide. All right, because I think we need to get the other slides back.
Yeah.
Because there's some good visuals on it.
Okay, I think I can do that. Well, so this slide that we're going to see here in a moment is really about where we fit into the world from a price and value perspective. One of the immediate observations that people will make and questions they will have is about the price. So our guns start at $799 and they go up to about $1,000. Okay. So on the, with the average price in mind, we're an above average price for a handgun. Okay. But it's not, as we all know, just about the price, it's about what's included. And so this slide that we were going to show kind of had a trend line, a continuum of where different firearms brands fall and how Shadow Systems fits in relationship to that when you consider the value. So you might say, your standard kind of holster gun right off the shelf is maybe, let's call it $500 to $600, something like that. And it's a good, reliable gun. But as we all know, a lot of times folks will buy a gun like that and then they'll start the process of improving it and modifying and adding things to it. And so they'll take their $500 gun and then they'll put in a pair of $100 night sights and a $100 trigger, and all of a sudden you're very much into the range of our opening price point, and you don't have the same feature set. Chris, great job, you killed it. Nice work.
Sorry.
Yeah. So you can see there, all right, we have features up and down and we have price left to right. So on the price realm, we're above average, but we're below the custom brands. And we just chose Zev and Salient as good examples because the feature set that's in the custom guns is what we are usually compared to. So what we're offering and putting in the box is usually regarded as more the stuff you're paying $2,000 for on the right side of this chart. So I call it kind of the high value quadrant and the low value quadrant. A high value, the green section there would be where you're getting a lot for the money. Okay, so you're paying maybe a higher price, but you're getting a ton of features. The other brands their price pretty much maps to how many features you get. A Glock, Smith & Wesson, SIG, whatever, it's lower price, but the feature set's lower. Zev, Salient, whoever, higher price, but the feature set's higher. We're a bit of an outlier. Our feature set is really, really high, and you're only probably paying $200 to $300 more for it, which is, way less than you'd be paying if you wanted to go and have the same feature set. So like, Glock, call it $500 to $600, Shadow, call it $700 to $900, Zev, 16, 1700. You know, the custom guys, $2,000 plus. And so that's the equation that you have. That's the calculation that you have to help people make when they're at the counter. It's, hey, this gun's like $900, right? That one's like $500. And it's easiest to say, look, I get that, but if you wanted to make that gun that's $500 like this gun that's $900, you're going to be spending another $1,000 plus. And that's just the way it is. And that's what the value quotient is for Shadow Systems. Did I explain that okay, Chris?
Perfect. You know, what I was impressed with Shadow Systems from the beginning was, you know, when we learned about it, and I learned about the brand, they were already here with us, but, you know, the explanation of this value proposition, you know, it was kind of a no-brainer. You're getting this, you know, customized gun without paying as much money you have to pay to build this yourself, right? And it's out of the box, it's ready to go. And it's not just cool features, but it's practical features. So,
right.
You know, when I talk to, you know, our sales team all the time, this is how you sell product. You know, what's the value proposition for a product? And Shadow Systems is very articulate and very clear about that value proposition. And we don't see that with all the other brands, okay? So I just love this, and I draw this chart, you know, take ARs or something like that, and we're trying to sell ARs in all different brands. How do you position them? How do they compare? And this is just perfect. So I love it. So thank you.
Yeah, definitely. It really just comes down to educating them on what the alternatives are to that. And then the price point seems very reasonable. So
exactly. It's not price, it's value, right?
It's value, exactly. All right, so this is a high level on what our product line consists of today. So there are 4 basic models which break out into many different SKUs and colors and threaded and unthreaded and so forth. But let me start at the top first with an explanation of the nomenclature. So the first 2 letters of the nomenclature, whether it's XR, DR, MR, that really indicates what frame configuration it is. So the XR we would call a crossover roll frame, 17+1 full-size grip with a compact length top end, okay? The duty roll would be a full-size duty pistol, 17+1 grip with a full-length slide for a, you know, a 4.5-inch barrel. And then the MR would be kind of our best-selling multi-roll gun, compact size, 15+1, with a compact grip and a compact top end, sort of, you know, optimal for carry, okay? The numbers 9, 20, in this case I added L as well. So 9 would be caliber. I guess someday if 40 comes roaring back, it'll be a 422 or whatever, but that first number indicates the caliber. The second 2 numbers is the year that the feature set was introduced. So we had a while ago, we had a gun called the MR918, which was a multi-roll gun, same multi-roll frame, and it was 18-year set features. So you're going to see 20 for all the current stuff because the basic feature set and operating system is the same across those different platforms. There's also an L. You'll see down there below the MR920L, kind of a cool gun. That is a compact grip with a full-length top end. That's a gun that nobody else is really making. If you're an iron sight shooter, which I happen to be, that's kind of like the optimal carry gun. You've got the advantage of the full-length dust cover, or correction, the full-length slide, and then you've got the compact grip. So that would be, you know, the basic layout for our models, okay? XR, DR, and the MR and MRL. Okay, next slide. All right, so I'm going to go through several configurations here, and these are just examples, right? There are many other SKUs, but these will be, you know, pictures that will help you understand the product line. So this first one is by far our best-selling gun. This is the 1009 SKU. This is the MR920 pistol with a bronze threaded barrel and the elite slide, okay? So this gun maps at 989, and you'll see dealer is there at 791. All the guns we're going to look at, for the most part, are right around 20% margin to you at map. So at map price, which by the way, we very strongly protect. We pay a third-party service to go out and crawl the web and find, you know, web retailers that are violating map policy and so forth. You know, we protect that to protect you, but at map, you'll see about 20% margin. For this gun, we have various versions. There's a flat dark earth version with the black barrel. There's an unthreaded version with bronze and black, but that's the best-selling gun. one other quick point to make that is weird, and if you're just considering bringing the product line in, it's something to think about. We tend to have our most expensive, meaning highest price guns, are by far the best sellers for us, okay? And the reason for that is it goes back to the value question. You know, if you look at our most base model, which we'll see on the next slide, our most base model's feature set, you know, is certainly above what you see in the stock gun. But if you look at the higher end models, the feature set you're getting is way more, and the difference in price is only a couple $100 between our low end and our high end. So the point is, people that are looking at the value of the offering will definitely see more value in the higher price models because they just include more and they're really not that much more expensive. Okay, so this is the best seller. If you're only going to carry one SKU, carry this one. Okay. This is the MR920L, so you'll notice the slide's a little bit longer. Same frame. This time it's a bronze unthreaded barrel, 15+1. MAP is a little higher on these guns, but in the same kind of ballpark. These are only available with the Elite slide that has the top serrations and the window cuts and the optic. But we do have them with black and bronze, threaded and unthreaded.
And there's also, obviously, all of these are available in compliant 10-round versions too. Camp4's got all those if you're in a restricted state. So
right. Okay, so this is a flat dark earth version of our most basic model. All right, so there's no optic cut, there's no window cuts. It is a match grade barrel, 17.4 stainless steel slide, the nice trigger, the aluminum flat face trigger, magwell, and so forth. But what really it doesn't have is the optic cut and the more elaborate slide machining. Okay, this is a base model, so it starts at $799, dealer is $639. But again, I'm not saying it's a bad idea to carry some of these. It's just you should be ready for these to move a little slower than the more higher priced versions, just because that's what the market sees the most value in.
I will say our non-optic cut gun is the only gun we've ever had somebody contact us about with buyer's remorse, right? Like they had, why didn't I spend that extra $60 or whatever at retail to get the optic cut gun? Or we've had him even call, hey, you forgot to put the optic cut on my gun, so can I send? Yeah, sorry, you bought the wrong one. And
my gun's defective. You forgot to machine the optic cut. Those are fun too. Yeah.
But we obviously we don't offer that service. We don't take them back in and do that. So yeah.
No. Okay, so Chris just put up the DR920 duty roll, full size gun, 17+1, 4.5-inch barrel. And so this was a gun that we designed primarily for law enforcement as we started to expand into that space. And not all the DRs tend not to sell through as quickly as the MRs do. The MR just kind of has a wider appeal, I think. But this actually is my favorite gun. The DR920 shown here is a combat optic slide. So just to talk slides again, there's really 3 slides. There's the basic combat with no optic cut. There's the basic combat with an optic cut, which you see here. And then there's the Elite that's fully loaded with everything. So and now I should make the point though that even if the gun is wearing a different slide, the sights are the same, the trigger is the same, the internals are the same, stainless steel guide rod, same frame features. So really you're just talking about differences at the slide level.
We're getting questions. You brought up duty, and Chad brought up 10-round. People are asking, obviously they asked about compliant states, but what about California? I'm assuming the answer is no, but
yeah, it sucks.
Not on the roster there, but it has been available obviously to law enforcement there, which but it is not. Unfortunately, not on the California roster.
You can't get on there if it's a new product. So
nobody can get on there, right? Yeah. So.
Right. And the other question we're getting is law enforcement, because you do have a law enforcement. You get a lot of law enforcement using it. Maybe you can talk a little about that.
Yeah, when we talk a little bit about points of resistance, Chris, I'm going to go into that definitely because it is a distinctive factor for us. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Just a couple more. Actually, I think it's the last one. So this is the new XR920 pistol. I talked about that earlier in that opening slide. Here you have a 17+1 grip, shorter top end. Interestingly, this is our #1 request from law enforcement. As more and more folks move toward a red dot optic, you don't really need that longer sight radius as much. The optic is, you don't benefit from the long sight radius. So that's what people are gravitating toward. Here you have the compact top end, longer grip, and they're maybe a little faster out of the holster than a full-size gun. Some people say that. A little more maneuverable in a confined space like a vehicle, but generally speaking, when people gravitate toward this arrangement where you have a shorter top end and a longer grip, I think a lot of it is just they're really beautiful guns. They're very proportioned and they're very cool looking. And so these are in the market now, and they're going to probably continue to grow and maybe eclipse a little bit of the DR sales, but I think that remains to be seen.
There is one typo on that screen. The map is not 889 on the XR.
Oh, for the Elite. I'm sorry. Yeah, so that would be 989.
989. Yep. So
yeah, 989. So
same pricing as the DR 920.
Same pricing. Yeah. Thank you for that, Chad.
Yep.
Okay. So a couple more things just on features. This is the backstrap system we talked about earlier. Comes with 3 backstraps. It also comes with a tool to take them on and off, which is nice. You'll see the magwell that's included as well. The neutral backstrap marked with an N would be similar to like an M&P or a SIG or something like that, and that is what is shipped on the gun. The high has that hump at the bottom of the grip as a higher muzzle orientation like a Glock, and then low would be very flat, similar to a 1911. And that's something you can point to as being differentiating, and it can disarm the resistance that some people have of, well, I don't like the way of whatever points. Okay, well, you can change that with this gun.
Because we're obviously not the first to do different backstraps, but typically we've seen not everybody, but a lot of what the backstraps have done before is just change the overall circumference of the grip. It's not actually changing how the gun points and presents. And so we just kind of thought this maybe made a little bit more sense in how adjustable backstrap should work. So
agreed.
I've got to do a call out for our Massachusetts dealers who are going, when's the mass compliant version coming in to get on the roster? Come on.
Yeah, that is a program we are working on. So working with the all the testing laboratories and stuff to get that done. So don't have a timeline, but I do hope that is it would be great if that's a 2022 realized avenue. So we want you to have it as well.
That would help, being that we're in Massachusetts. You realize that, right?
I know.
Okay.
Yeah, we've completed some of the testing related to this. There are some of the challenges are related to the current requirements for the LCI. So that was part of it. But it is something we are actively doing. It's not just lip service. That is a true project.
Great. Okay, mounting system.
Yeah, real quick, I just want to make the point. So a lot of folks that are looking for optic-sighted guns will this will resonate with them. We do have a patent for the optic system. On the top would be a conventional layout for a Glock style operating system. And you'll notice that the optic screw hole placement lands right above one of the internal components. And that's why most of the optics out there that are mounted to these kinds of platforms sit very high on the gun, and the screws are really small. Whereas we redesigned the internal components there, so we have the longest, strongest screws in the industry. The screws pictured at the bottom on the left is our screw, on the right would be a typical screw for the typical design that you see. We use a non-compressible spacer behind the optic. It's behind or in front of the optic, and it locks the optic into position when the screws are tightened down. So you don't need a plate underneath it. You don't need to raise it up. And that's why we get a lower 1/3 co-witness with a relatively conventional height sight. A lot of times you put the optic on, now you can't see your sights anymore. You got to go buy suppressor sights. There goes another $100. Our sights will co-witness with the majority of the optics out there, direct mounted to our slide, no intervening plates, no adapters, nothing like that. The only exception, just so you know, is the Delta Point Pro, and that is just because Leupold made that thing really tall for some reason, and it's the only one that's like that, and we didn't feel it was appropriate to raise our sight height for just that one optic. So there are options out there if you want to replace the sights if you are a Delta Point Pro shooter. But you know, Holosun, Trijicon, typical sights, it'll co-witness beautifully with the included sights.
And everything you need to mount the sights, the optic, is in the box that the gun comes with. And the Loctite, the screws, don't use the screws that the optic came with. Use the ones we give you. Everything's in there. The manual, page 15, explains step by step how to install these optics. So with good pictures. Yep. So.
Okay, this is the main slide here. You know, especially if you're in that 38% that's having some trouble moving things. So the points of resistance that we hear most often, and a lot of it comes down to people just not knowing who we are these. Number one, it's overpriced. We talked about this earlier. If you want to add this kind of feature set to a typical stock gun, you'd be over $1,500 into that project, and you would also probably violate the warranty of the original stock gun. Whereas our gun comes equipped with all the stuff you need and really nothing you don't, at a reasonable price point and with a company that stands behind it. So the comparison there is, yeah, I get it. It's on the higher end of the price spectrum, but the sky's the limit if you want this kind of feature set. And I talked earlier about, you know, you add sights and a trigger, which are typical places people start, and you're already above the opening price point for a combat. Okay. Number two is where, you know, we're both helped and hurt by our cool aesthetics, right? We do have a really cool looking gun, and so sometimes people will think that that's all it is, that it's just like, as they would say, a Gucci Glock. Okay. It's really important that people understand, no, this is a hard use tool that is actually carried in law enforcement holsters now, not just as being approved on their duty gun roster, but actually as an issued gun. There are law enforcement trials going right now where it is, you know, over 1,000 officers, 3,000 officers in one case, and it's SIG, Smith & Wesson, and Shadow Systems, or SIG, Glock, and Shadow Systems. So this is a gun that is deserving of consideration in a duty capacity, and it is certainly worthy of consideration for personal defense. Our guns are NIJ certified for the MR and the DR. So they've gone through that law enforcement validation process. So these are real tools for real hard use. We do use the proven Glock operating system. Like people say, well, it uses Glock parts. No, Shadow Systems manufactures our own parts. We use the operating system, but the guns are just designed to be significantly easier to shoot, fast and accurate than your typical stock gun or stock Glock. And I would say that, you know, generally because of our diligence around machining and quality, our product quality and materials and machining, I think, exceeds most of what else you would see out there for a similar price. Okay. And then the last one is, oh, I don't need all that stuff. I like a basic gun. You know, maybe it's not reliable. You're going to get dirt in the window cuts. I love when the people bring up window cuts on the side of the slide as being a reliability concern, because I always point to, well, you know, when I was in the Army, I carried a Beretta 92 and the whole top of the slide was a window cut, right? Or, you know, you look at a Glock 34, which has a big window on the top of the slide, and people forget about that because it's always viewed from the side. So window cuts don't mean anything about reliability. You know, the guns are reliable. We don't compromise the operating system. Sometimes people will be expecting a lighter trigger pull when they pick up our gun. They'll say, oh, well, you know, I wish I had a 3.5 pound trigger pull. Okay, we keep the operating system and it within that same kind of like super safe, drop safe realm. We have to do that to reach the market we want to reach. So our triggers break at 4 to 4.5 pounds. They're reliable with lots of different kinds of ammunition. We keep all the take up in there for threat management. So you're not going to get a match grade trigger in our gun. You can certainly create one by swapping out some springs, but we do keep the guns reliable, and that's why the triggers are a little heavier. Okay, so those are common points of resistance. For those of you that are not selling through quickly enough or as fast as you'd like, I mean, I'm curious, what other points of resistance are you guys hearing? I'd love to know about that. We can talk about it now if you want, Chris.
If they can put that into the questions, I can kind of get them there.
Okay.
Some of the questions related to this, somewhat related, is, is there an LE discount? I know the answer is yes, because we are an
Yeah.
LE dealer for you.
We
Yes.
talk about that real quick, just in case they're not
Please,
aware. So
please.
we have the Patriot and Protector program, which is our discount program for law enforcement, first responders, military, active, and veterans. It's available through Cam4 is a distributor of this. They facilitate this program for us. They've done a great job with this. So reach out. It's a significant, it's a great discount to the end user, about 29% off MSRP for the end user. It's a way, our way, one of the ways we can say thank you, back to those that serve and are serving. So that is out there. Contact your sales reps there at Cam4 to do it. And then we obviously do a lot of agency sales stuff too. So I know some dealers get involved in bidding with that, with local opportunities. Again, please reach out to us. We have a dedicated team that is working law enforcement sales. So.
Holsters, do they have specific ones? Does it fit all Glock holsters?
Great question. One of the design criteria we've had from the very beginning was compatibility with Glock holsters. Obviously, there's a huge embedded base of holsters. It's also helpful for law enforcement. They don't have to swap their duty gear. So yes, the DR is compatible with what would be a Glock 17 type holster. The MR and XR would be compatible with what you'd think of as a Glock 19 size holster. Every time we say that, there's somebody that finds some obscure holster that somebody made in their garage that fits the Glock but doesn't fit ours or whatever. It does happen, but for all the major brands making holsters for those guns, you're going to have a good fit.
10 millimeter? Any plans for 10 millimeter?
Yes, so we do have plans for other calibers. 10 millimeter is at or near the top of the list. It will likely be the next caliber that we release. We do not anticipate releasing it in the next 12 months, but probably shortly thereafter, from what I know right now.
So mass compliant will come before 10 millimeter. I'm just checking.
Yes, that's exactly right. High priority.
All right, let's.
It is the most requested caliber we get is 10 mil.
Yes.
Yeah. Right after 50 BMG, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Right after that.
So here's the time when we're going to let our dealer and our representative say a few words. Except that, again, because of my technical competence, I can't figure out how to promote them, which is what I thought I could do to talk directly. So Alex and Brett, I apologize. I have been texting them along the way and said I can't figure it out. So they've sent me some notes that I'm going to pass along. And again, this is the point here is that we're supposed to share with our dealers, what is another dealer doing to make them successful? Some of the points that they've shared with me that I'm sharing with you. First of all, these guns stand out in the showcase. When you put them next to some other guns, these stand out, especially the elite model with the gold barrel. Costs. Point out the cost of the upgrades: fluted barrel, threaded barrel, optics cut, stippling, slide cuts. Again, not just the price of that, but the value that you're getting by having those features built into the gun. 90%, one of my sales reps said over 90% of our dealers are rebuying this product. We have very, very little percent of dealers that try it and aren't successful. So it should be a very successful. Enforcing MAP. They like that you can enforce MAP. There's no race to the bottom. We're not competing on price against some of the other guns. Parts accessibility is exceptional. Nothing to lose, no risk involved. The other piece of this would be the optics. Again, the optics ready version. Trevor, you said something earlier, 70% of the buyers are optics ready. Was that 70% of you, or do you think 70% of the guns sold in general optics ready, or what was that comment?
Well, interestingly, it's probably more from our perspective that are optics ready. The 70% comment came from our experience in the law enforcement world and kind of learning that over 70% of new law enforcement requisitions have an optics ready requirement. Okay. So that community is going that way. In terms of our own internal sales, it is well over 70% of the guns that we sell, probably into the 80s, that are optics ready. So that's the combat optic or the elite slide guns, and it's far and away the best seller. People realize, hey, it doesn't hurt me to have that capability. I have that plate on there, it covers it up. If I ever want to use it, I can. And a lot of times true optics ready guns, if they're going for a co-witness, they'll have giant sights on them. But with us, there's really no penalty. You have sights that are still very standard height that will co-witness when an optic, or if an optic is put on the gun. So it's over 70% though.
Great. Alex, thank you for joining. I know he's listening in. I apologize I couldn't get you on here. He's got his hand raised, but I, again, can't figure it out. So, hey, Alex, thanks. Brett, thank you very much. I'm going to move on now to the next slide. Who wants one?
Yeah, this is the question too. It's like, what should I be watching for to walk through the door that's going to want, a gun like this? The first one is kind of obvious. I mean, we say typically a younger demographic that's like looking at cool pictures of guns on Instagram and watching YouTube videos, which frankly is, not just the younger demographic these days, but I think our biggest Shadow Systems collector is actually an older retired gentleman, so it doesn't have to be that way. But I would say, guy who likes cool features and is in it and, reading all the magazines and looking at all the Instagram posts and stuff, that's the guy that's going to be interested, or girl that's going to be interested in our gun. So the law enforcement military thing, there is a kind of brand promise of reliability and performance that matters to them. Our Patriot and Protector program is actually a pretty successful program for the newness and size of our company. So we're hearing that in several places, and it's because that law enforcement, military, first responder kind of contingent gets it and likes it, and that brand speaks to them. So I would say that if you see somebody walk in who's from that realm, that's a good target. Female shooters do significantly prefer the grip. They tend to, but don't always, have smaller hands, and so the MR guns in particular seem well suited to that. One thing about grip too, just to mention it, so when the magazine well is installed on the grip, it creates this nice little curve at the bottom, which really cinches your hand into the grip, and it gives you more leverage on the gun when the mag well is installed. And so shooters that they're a little recoil shy, or the gun slips around a lot, they're going to experience less recoil. They're a little easier to hold on to, and the mag well can help with that too. I say former Glock shooters, like you said earlier, Chris, you haven't touched your Glocks in a while. I think that's true for many who like Glocks and like that reliability and like this trigger system. But it's an easier sell if they're familiar with that brand in many cases. And because our backstrap can be converted to match the Glock orientation, that's good. The harder sells, if someone is really price sensitive and they're shopping on price, that's going to be a harder sell. Somebody who's not necessarily a frequent shooter, they're going to buy it and throw it in a glove box and forget about it, or they're not enthusiasts, it'll be a little harder. People who are closed-minded, who think, well, if the brand hasn't been around for at least 100 years, I'm not interested. If you experience that, that's a hard one to get past. But really, it always just kind of comes down to people not knowing the story, not knowing who we are, not knowing what the product represents, not understanding the feature set or the value. So the more you can be educated on that, and the more your counter staff can be educated on that, the better you're going to do. So.
Yeah. And I'll emphasize, you talk about female shooters. I think I've seen stats with, the 7, 8, 10 million, whatever it was, new shooters. We've got 40% of them, something like that, are women, right? Now, again, that does hit the new shooter also, so a little mix there, but that should help on the grip size.
Yeah, one other thing too, Chris, because you hear a common complaint, withdrawing the slide, pulling the slide back on a semi-automatic handgun can be a little challenging for some. That's why you see some of the brands coming out with slides that are easier to pull back and so forth. A lot of times, what's not well understood is that the difficulty in pulling the slide back is actually less about the spring weight, and it's more about being able to hold on to the top and not have it slip out of your hand too soon. So our really aggressive serrations and the thinning of this front profile, we thin the front profile of the slide a little bit. they can actually make it feel a lot easier to pull the slide back on a gun like this. And so I just make that point that if someone's having a little bit of trouble pulling the slide back, you may find that a Shadow Systems slide design is easier for them to manage.
Great.
Hey,
So,
one other a point of resistance I've heard too before being, selling on the retail side. We've had this from folks like, because we talk about these being carry pieces, guns you're going to carry every day. Is I don't know if I want to carry on me $1,000 gun every day or whatever, because I'm afraid if I ever use it in a legally justified self-defense shooting, I'm going to lose that. And so, it never really resonated with us. So you're like valuing your life at a certain dollar amount, to protect it. And so we actually have, and it's the very last page of our warranty. You'll see it in our very last page of our manual. Read it in there. But there is a use of force policy in there, and that if kind of in summation, if that gun was ever, a legally justified shooting and that gun was removed from you and not given back for whatever reason, if you get it to us, you let us know the report, and it's all spelled out in there, but there's the option for us to replace that gun for you if you ever had that permanently taken away from you. So
that's nice.
We've tried to disarm some of that too. So
yeah, if somebody is worried about the price, one reason is that, and all the requirements generally are we have to determine to our satisfaction that it was legally justified. So that's going to be a review of whatever material is available. And then that gun that replacement gun needs to go through a dealer. So that person would need to pass a background check again. And that's just to kind of protect us. But yes, we will replace the gun if it's used in a legally justified shooting and possession is permanently lost. Yep.
That's nice. That's very nice.
Yeah.
We get about 7 minutes left. But I think we only get three or four slides anyways.
Yeah, it'll be fast. I mean, this one is just, how do you sell more? Stock the best sellers. Like I talked about, buy the little more expensive higher end ones. Bronze barrels tend to move pretty nice. That first SKU SS 1009 always sells well. Train your sales team, like we said, if they know the story and they know that they're, serious use guns that are NIJ certified, and they know what the alternatives are out there in the market and how much those cost, that's a really great place to start. Also, we have really nice pro deals on Expert Voice. Counter staff that have bought one of the guns personally and understand it and shoot it and love it tend to be advocates for the brand. And so that's another way to kind of help educate them, is to encourage them to own one. If you are a range, having a rental is great. These are very experiential products. You can look at it, you can hear the story, but when you shoot it, that's when you really see all these features come together, and the recoil control and the muzzle rise and all these factors we've been designing for. So that's a good one. And then the last one, Chad mentioned it earlier, we're so serious about this. We want to invest in your success. Let our dealer support reps come out there and just do some training. Chad could tell the story better than I, but I know we're limited on time. And very quickly, we had a dealer that had been sitting on the guns for months. And we sent our dealer support rep to that shop for a weekend, and they sold through their entire inventory over the course of the next week. So it does work, and we are here to support you. And the best way to get that started is with an email there to our dealer support email.
I'd emphasize again the training. No one, I get the same, any challenge with our sales team here. We bring on a new brand, we got to train the sales team. That's required. That's definitely required.
Yes.
Someone actually asked about the marketing. So here's an answer to the marketing. We built this slide on the fly to answer that.
Yeah, so I think it's important that everybody know we're serious about marketing to support you. Historically, we have been using more of the digital marketing realm for our focus, but in this past year, we've gotten more into the traditional print media. You'll see that the Guns magazine cover for December actually is a Shadow Systems gun. There are other magazine covers coming from other big publications in the space over the course of the next, we'll have some in this next coming quarter and then next year. So we are going to be in more traditional print kind of media. We do have a very active YouTube and Instagram page. We have about 30,000 followers on Instagram. I wish it was more, but they're a very engaged following, which is great. And of course, our website, which is a nice place to learn more about the product. But my point is, we are serious about it. We have staff, we have full-time marketing director, we have full-time videography, and we're growing that really, big time in the next year. So that's high level. But the Guns magazine cover was really cool. That was kind of a first for us, and there's going to be more like that very soon.
I'll emphasize the. Oh, sorry, Chad.
Sorry. I was just going to, on the social media side, as Trevor mentioned, very active, but we encourage you, tag us. We love to reshare that. Our social media manager, she's all over that.
Yeah.
She shares that. If you've got an event coming up, if you've got something happening, let us know, tag us. You got stuff in stock. We get asked all the time, where is it? And we're constantly driving it to you. So hit us up, tag us, do all that stuff.
We love to reshare other folks' stuff. If you take a really cool picture of one of the guns in your shop or something, put a filter on it, whatever. And I mean, we would love to have that stuff to use.
And it's hard to see maybe in this video. I don't know if I'm circling it, but if you still want to see Trevor in pigtails in a dress, you can also see that. So
I came as Wednesday Addams for Halloween this year, and we did a video that day. So I did a really serious technical overview on something that I don't remember what it was, essentially dressed as a woman.
I like it. All right, I'm going to have a poll question. Before we do, I want to share with the attendees here, we got a special offer to help you be more successful and get started with selling shadow systems with some dating. So if you buy 3 guns, you'll get 2 months of dating. If you buy 5 or more guns, you'll get 3 months of dating. That's good as of right now through, I think, next Thursday or next Wednesday. So that's, I hope, will help our dealers that might be having challenges selling or want to sell more to get some guns. What I'm going to do, one last poll I want to ask, because I'm curious. Again, the goal here was to help our dealers, understand shadow systems and try to sell it more. So my question that I'm having to you now, see if I can do this poll thing and not mess it up again, is, how likely will you add shadow systems to your store and or increase sales through this webinar? So again, I'll ask you to click on one of the buttons. Like to know, if this is going to be helpful to you. Did we hit some of those ahas? This is what's going to help you figure out how to sell more. And then again, will that special offer maybe help you also? So we get a couple people voting. We'll get that closed up, and then we just got, I think we're just wrapping up because I've got 1 minute left. We've hit upon most of the questions along the way. If there's some that we don't answer, I'll try to get these to shadow systems, or if there's something that we can answer, we'll answer ourselves. But trying to get pretty close to closing off at 2 o'clock Eastern, and we're almost there. We got a good number of people voting. So I'm going to close this and wrap this up here soon. Let's see if we can close it, and I'm going to share it. And you can see that.
Great to see.
How's that?
That's great.
Great to see.
Very likely, somewhat likely, no, 0 not going to happen. So that's great.
Thank you, guys.
Well, so thank you. I'm gonna thank you. So here's what I'm gonna do. Now let's see. Am I gonna hide this? Is this gonna work?
You did it.
Hey, look at that. So for dealers listening, if you need help, you want to learn more information, reach out to your sales rep. Cam4.com, shadowsystems.corp, and don't forget this dealer support. Again, if you need more help with that, reach out to Shadow Systems, and again, they'll be very helpful to you. Chad mentioned earlier about the Shadow System sales team getting out there and helping a dealer if they're having some troubles. So that's the whole goal here for today. I want to say thanks to Trevor, thanks to Chad. Oh, and before I do, you probably noticed there's going to be a free gun that you guys offered to one of the dealers. So thank you very, very much. That'll get announced today if I get my day done. But I thank you guys for offering that, and thanks for being here. Anything you want to end with here?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for those of you that have invested in us. We want to return the favor and invest in your success. So please let us know how we can do that and take advantage of the dealer support services that we have. We really like to talk to dealers and customers, and so if there's any recommendation or questions, or if you're in that 2% that doesn't feel confident about the brand, you're all welcome to email me directly. My name is Trevor. I'm the CEO. Trevor@shadowsystemscorp.com. I'd love to hear from you if you have something that you'd like to talk about.
Thank you both very much. Everyone
Thanks,
else
Chris.
listening, thanks for attending. Have a great Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year, and hope to see you guys at SHOT. Thanks,
Cool.
everybody.
Thanks
See
a
ya.
lot. See ya.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.